Chocs away, old boy! Welcome to the RetroTech 120p challenge, and this is me, Flight Lieutenant Jay's man-child, taking to the skies and shooting the bloody jellies down. Yes, what? Yeah, I mean, that seemed like a really good idea as an intro when I started doing this, and it wasn't brilliant, was it? But yeah, being I think the most southern-based person that takes part in these challenges, I thought I'd better do that because I'd be most effective at doing it, because Northerners were just sort of on the front line, weren't they? me and Douglas Titchmarsh can hold up the officers class. Cool. That's going to make me popular. Yeah, so RetroTech 120p challenge is this. It's basically you have as many practice goes as you want, and then once you've decided you're confident enough, you press record, you get 2 credits. And yeah, you go from there. And what I did is I went from there and I uploaded it, and I might get to choose the game that's next on the wheel, should I win, because you put your name down and the game you want to play next, and then it can go on the wheel and then it gets chosen at random, and we might be playing your game next week if you join in, and if you join in you might win as well. And guess what you win? Absolutely nothing. Just like war, it's all futile. But yeah, this is 1942, as you can probably see. A real arcade classic vertical shoot 'em up, one of the most influential shoot 'em ups I believe of all time. Designed by the legendary Yoshihiko Okamoto, who, if you're not familiar with all the Japanese instrumental coding legends and developing legends, he was responsible for Time Pilot and Gyros for Konami, this Gunsmoke, Final Fight and Street Fighter 2 for Capcom, and he also designed the original Red Dead game. So he's even influential in one of the most successful franchises of the present day as well. He converted, well, he didn't, but this got converted to most things. It ended up being on, and I'm going to take a big deep breath. MSX, NES, Amstrad, Commodore 64, PC 88, FM7, Sharp X1, iOS, Game Boy Color, PS2, Spectrum, Saturn, Windows, Xbox, PSP, and Wii. Now, some of those were part of Capcom collections, and some were the result of digital stores opening up for, you know, like your iOS and the Wii and what have you. But that is quite a big list, and I'd say it's probably one of the most converted games we've ever played on this challenge. Perhaps there is more, like we played Street Fighter 2, that's possibly more converted than this. Maybe. Probably, I'd say. But yeah, very influential game, tremendously good fun. It plays very. It's strange because like if you used to bullet hell games, it looks really simple and really easy to do. But I think what's interesting about it is that the enemy craft sort of stay on the screen longer, and they do these unusual turns and things, and they shoot where they think you're gonna go, which is real clever for like an early 80s vertically scrolling shoot 'em up. And it's really good fun. It is really good fun. I do recommend, even if you don't take part in the challenge, you don't want to embarrass yourself, get on this. Give it a go if you've never played it before. I'd be incredulous if you're a man in your 30s or 40s who hasn't. But if you haven't, do give it a go, because it is really enjoyable to play. So what are we going to do about World War II genital facts then? I think we should, shouldn't we? So yeah, World War II seems like a really good subject to cover given what we're playing. So we'll start with 5 facts to do with World War II about genitals, or rather their use thereof. So we'll start with number 1, which is, in order to combat sexually transmitted diseases in their fighting ranks, prostitutes and sex workers in the US were detained so that the men in the US Army and other fighting services could remain free of STDs. These prostitutes, you see, would flock to army bases because there were a lot of horny men full of testosterone there, and with a bit of an R&R time. And so, yeah, they saw there was some money to be made. But unfortunately, most of them found that they would then get arrested and tested for these diseases. They were described as camp followers, good time Charlottes, and khaki wackies. Khaki wackies. That makes more sense. Khaki wackies. It's my southern accent again. Officers' class. Fact number 2. During the early 40s, occupied France would find itself known as a female country. Now, what this means was that young, virile German soldiers would go about with willing French ladies in all manner of public places, such as subways and cinemas. Obviously, this didn't go down too well after the war was done. So after liberation, women who had cavorted with Nazis were targeted as collaborators, and some of them had their head shaved, and they were humiliated publicly in the streets, like your Cersei Lannister in Game of Thrones when she had that done to her. Soldiers. Yes, soldiers. Number 3, soldiers were given free condoms by military commanders on D-Day because they wanted their troops to avoid sexually transmitted diseases. The men also sometimes used condoms to keep sand out of the barrels of their weapons, which saved time when cleaning after desert and beach warfare. Put a condom on the end of it. Works in more ways than one. Right, I've got to turn the page of my hastily prepared facts as ever. Yeah, the crinkle. That's the crinkle of wartime. Yes. As a result of US soldiers using Britain as the base of their operations in World War II, 60,000 British women married American soldiers, often returning with them to the US after hostilities had ended in 1945. This was often frowned upon by families and churches. And cases of illegitimate children in 20 to 40-year-olds in Great Britain during wartime doubled during wartime. So the GIs were having a bit of fun. Yes. But if they did marry, they were known as GI brides. GI brides. And then fact number 5. Obviously being gay in World War II wasn't super great on the Axis side, as we know. They often found themselves with the Jews in the concentration camps. But things were a little bit brighter on the Allied side. This is despite obviously the different attitudes we have to homosexuals today than we did back then. It being very different, obviously, because basically what would happen is conscription, obviously, where you were recruited to the army if you were of fighting age, that brought together a lot of queer men and women in various different places, obviously on the front line and back at home. A lot of the women, of course, were left there, and they found comfort in their own gender during that time. It is estimated that 400,000 queer men and women out of 6.5 million service people were gay, and the number of gay people increased substantially after the war. Only 1,800 servicemen were court-martialed for indecency after World War II had climaxed. So, I mean, maybe they turned a bit more of a blind eye to it because they wanted fighting men. But that's all good, isn't it? And that's the end of our genital facts. So I hope you've enjoyed those. I've certainly enjoyed giving you those. Right, so what else is there to tell you about this game? Because I haven't really talked a lot about it other than saying it's bloody good. Yeah, so, I mean, it's not visually stunning, but remember, this is like 1983. It did really well on the NES. I think it sold over 1 million copies. So it was like obviously a popular game with lots and lots of people. One thing I should say about it is that you should, if you find yourself in a sticky situation like I did there, jam that special weapon button, because rather than being like a bomb that blows everything up, it's actually like a flip that gets you out of danger. Really useful to use. Try not to miss the power-ups when they come up, which are deposited by the red planes. And the other key thing, and this is really important to people taking part in the challenge if you're watching this, is when I die in a minute, which is now, when you continue, which is after you've actually input your name on the high score table. Press fire, hold down fire and press start. If you press start alone, I believe that the game will just start from the beginning again, so you wouldn't be able to continue. So yeah, if you're playing the challenge and you want to continue, hold down fire and press start, which will put you back on the level that you died on. Obviously, if you die on the first level, doesn't really matter. So yeah, good fun. This is really good fun. Please do join and have a look at the other videos as well in the challenge, because my second go isn't nearly as long as my first. I get a little bit overwhelmed, and that's why it's important to get power-ups, because that happens. Yeah, either the planes on each side of you, or the one that doubles your firepower, useful. So yeah, pick up that. What's coming up on the channel this week? TNA Wrestling. I've covered the 2 games that came out from DS and the PSP, 2 handheld games. Because why have I done it this particular week? Because one of my heroes from when I was a youth, Sting, is retiring next week. As you can see, my second go was pretty short. But yeah, Sting. If you know, not the guy from the Police, no. Sting the wrestler is retiring after like 4 decades or so. So bloody well done him for lasting so long. He's in his 60s now. But yeah, that's the end of my go. But as I say, have a look at the other challenges. Take part yourself. And thanks for joining me. Kay, thanks. Bye.